in Grass Valley. We're going to discuss today how to open up cloud delivery. This is a panel discussion that will take more or less 45 minutes. My name is Ariel Slama and I will be your moderator today. We've gathered quite a nice lineup today with experts that are going to walk you through the basics of cloud in live video contribution. But before that, and I see that there are more and more people coming in, I would like to see where you are, from where are you joining us. So we have some small polls that we are going to use during the meeting. So we will have a small window that will be prompted, and if you can please tell us where you're coming from, if it's Northern America or Europe, Latin America, Middle East or Africa. And I will give you a couple of minutes for that. That's super cool. In the meantime, while you're answering, I will give some housekeeping. So you have a Q&A section where you can post anytime your question. We will either answer them directly or answer them live. If your question has not been addressed, we will follow up with you a little bit later. This being said, I think it's time to start, right? So I will end the poll right now and we can start by going to the next slide where we are showing and we're going to introduce our very dear panelists. So we have, first but not least, Larissa from Grass Valley. Hi, Larissa. Larissa, you are the director of product management and AMP at Grass Valley. You are overseeing all the SaaS and cloud offering. You've been a very well-known and contributor and a regular speaker at industry event, and our dear colleague for a couple of times. We also have from NetInsight, Christian Metz. Christian is our business development manager. Hello, Christian. He's involved in multiple innovation and partner projects. Urko, he's our latest addition. He's our product manager for Nimbra Edge. Nimbra Edge, you will know a little bit later on, is our cloud-based platform for intelligent media routing. And with us as well, we have Alex Cousins and Nathaniel Ho, our technical expert that are going to deliver you a live presentation in a couple of minutes. But before we get into the meat, I would say, I would like to see if Larissa and Urko, you can introduce a little bit what it is about, what is Edge, what is AMP, just to quickly so our audience knows.
Thank you, Ariel. I think I can start. I can give a brief overview to the audience about what Nimbra Edge is about. So basically, think that Nimbra Edge is a video switching in the internet. So basically what we have here is an IP video network. So we are able to ingest any kind of stream into our Nimbra Edge cloud with any retransmission protocol, or the most predominant ones in the market. And we are able to reroute those inputs and those input streams to all the destinations that you have available, even in a group, in a more like drag and drop look and feel, right? So, but what are the key benefits of Nimbra Edge overall? So I think one of the main points that we can provide is that we are a cloud agnostic, in the sense that we are able to deploy our Nimbra Edge infrastructure on any kind of public cloud providers, which currently we have live productions in all the three main cloud providers. But as well, we are able to deploy the system in a private cloud or in a combination of private and public as a hybrid solution. So this gives a lot of flexibility depending on the use cases that you are currently looking into. But at the same time, we have other features that we can discuss later, but it's the option of multi-region support, which means that if you have customers that are located in different geographical locations, it is possible to have instances of this media routing service, Nimbra Edge, in different regions, so you can, in a more efficiently manner, redistribute and reroute those streams either locally in that region or going through different ones in a more fashion way and less, let's say, delayed in that case. But apart from that, we are also ARQ agnostic, which means that we support the main retransmission protocols available. In this case, RIST, which is running under the hood in the whole Nimbra Edge infrastructure, SRT, and 6C. But also one thing that can differentiate us is the business model as well, which is not based, as it's commonly nowadays, on egress bandwidth traffic, but it's mainly on the number of streams that you are currently using, which, for example, means that it doesn't matter the bit rate or the kind of the stream that you are currently ingesting into the system. We only take care about how many concurrent streams you actually use. That's also something that is important, and we have put a lot of focus on in the next upcoming release, in fact, at the beginning of Q4, is interoperability, in the sense that we are creating now an open API that will be available for you to actually, in a seamless way, interact with your current and existing external services. So you can use Nimbra Edge not only through the graphical user interface that we have, which we can explain a bit later, or in the demo you will see, but also through this API, which I think is quite beneficial in certain environments. So I think that's basically an overview of what Nimbra Edge, but we will see that in the a bit later in the demo, I think. So maybe I can hand over to Ariel.
Yeah, thank you, Urko. Thank you for this quick overview. I think, Larissa, what we're interested in is to know what Grass Valley is doing around cloud, and if you can give us like the main information about AMP, so we have a context for the next things.
Right, so hi everyone. So I would like to present to you what is the idea of the GV Media Universe and AMP, which is the platform which enables that ecosystem. So it is a comprehensive ecosystem of cloud-based tools and services, and it's all designed on a cloud-first basis. So that will also allow us to interconnect with existing solutions, but also with partner offerings, as we are doing here with the Nimbra Edge, and a community of marketplaces that actually really revolutionizes the way how we do media today, and how we can do that in the future. So just like the Nimbra Edge, the whole AMP platform is as well cloud agnostic, so we can run in public cloud, private cloud, or in hybrid environments, so it doesn't really matter where the processing is placed. On top of that, as you see, this is where AMP is, so the Agile Media Processing Platform that has all the core functionality that allows you to spin up and down media on demand, so you can create your workflows just for the time you would use it, and also just pay for that. So it is our managed SaaS solution. And on top of these, on top of AMP, you can then spin up all the different kind of applications like switchers, clip players, multi-viewers, conversion, or of course just as simple as inputs and outputs, and we will show you more later on. And with this also, what has been very important for Grass Valley are our connected applications, so that you can actually still use the user interfaces, the hardware panels that people are used to work with in such an environment within AMP, but also have the possibility of a universal user experience that Alex will show you later on. So that is actually allowing to have a very easy access to working with media applications, which sometimes can be a bit complex, but we try now to really make every usage as easy as possible. So if we move to the next slide, I show you a bit more on like the technical thing, how that is actually set up. So that is showing the AMP stack. As said, we have a very strict separation of the control plane and the data plane in AMP. So the data plane always stays within a customer account. So everything which is content related would be with the customers and can also be where the customer would like it. So either in the cloud or also on premise or within an S3 bucket or so whatever you would like. And on top of that, we have our orchestration layer, which is the GV managed SaaS, which is the AMP core. And this AMP core enables to then spin up and down applications if you want to have a live production or a master control production, and then can actually say, I need 2 inputs, a switcher, a multi-viewer, and then I need something to stream it out. You can create that in a couple of minutes. And then on top of this, you have the AMP routing. So there is a local routing that you can have between your processing nodes and all of those, but also we have a global routing, and that is where the Nimbra Edge comes in, that enables you to connect multiple locations across the globe and also inter-cloud locations to really work with a almost no delay infrastructure, having these both solutions coming together and then building solutions on top, like master control, live production, or remote production, or even distributed production, as we will just see in a few minutes.
Okay, thank you, Larissa. That was quite outstanding. But what I would like to do, because obviously cloud is a key question right now, especially with the COVID and everything accelerated, everyone is using it. So I would like to ask the audience if we I'm going to pop up a new poll. What is interesting for us is to understand what are the barriers, like what is hindering you for using the cloud. Is it a matter of cost? Is it a matter of knowledge and skills? Is it the benefits as you see it, are they limited, or you don't know the technology? And I would like to ask that as the panelists, what are you seeing right now in the usage and the adoption of cloud? So what we see is that apparently, like, what is really missing is the knowledge and skills. Is it something that you relate, Larissa, Christian, and Urko?
You go first,
Yes.
Urko.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it, in my opinion, it can be very overwhelming because cloud sometimes can be a buzzword for a lot of different technologies. But I think what is clear, in my opinion, is the fact that with cloud natively, at least from the Nimbra Edge point of view, it gives us elasticity in the sense that we can scale up natively, for example, depending on the overload of the system. So we can scale up and we can scale down, and also it can be resilient. So I think those are the primary key features that that cloud brings us here, right? And also independence.
Yeah, so there was a clear vote towards knowledge and skills missing. If we move forward, I think you've prepared prior to this this webinar, you've prepared a very nice use case to explain to us how you can benefit from the cloud when doing linear live production. So on the next slide, we will have we obviously have a glitch in the picture, but that's fine.
That's fine.
That's fine. But we on the next slide, if we can just come back to this picture. Thank you. Yeah. Yes. This is basically an overview of a linear live production. And Christian and Larissa, can you give us some context and explain us how this can work in practice? Maybe
Yes,
Christian, you can start. Let's go.
Okay. I mean, of course, we're using a lot of buzzwords here, agile, elastic, cloud, platforms, etc. But of course, to better exemplify this, let's look at, I would say, a very normal use case and a solution example. And you will better understand, you know, the opportunities and challenges of these type of solutions. So, so we are playing with the idea and have set up a demo for a small production of actually a small touring car race where we want to make a smaller production with 3 cameras. We are playing with the idea that the commentators are not at the location, which is of course very valid for today. The commentators can be anywhere. Of course, you can also add any type of studios, analysts or other participants in this type of workflow very, very easily. So what we're doing here is that from the cameras that come from different locations, we basically need to encode these streams and then eventually also send them into the cloud. And that is done by using ARQ or retransmission protocols. These protocols make it, I would say, they quality assure that the streams will come on time and with the quality that we require for a production. Nevertheless, of course, the interesting thing here is that depending on what situation you have, you will have different types of equipment that you want to connect. Maybe you have net insight equipment, Nimbra. In this example, we're using Nimbra, which is of course very well integrated with the Nimbra Edge in the cloud. But of course, they could be also third-party encoders, decoders, other equipment that you want to reuse and continue using. Then there are several ways of doing interconnection as well. You can use Edge Connect, which is a downloadable software, a Docker software that you can put on any server that will adapt and correct and measure the quality of these signals. Or if any third-party encoder or equipment will support 6E, SRT, or RIST retransmission protocols, these can also ingest into the Nimbra Edge orchestrator. So when this...
So Christian, what you're saying is that there isn't this completely agnostic regarding the platform. We can connect anything, right?
Yes, of course, anything is a truth with a little bit of limitation, but yes, if you support any of the standard ARQ protocols, retransmission protocols, it is possible to ingest or extract traffic. This, of course, making it possible to implement this in any type of existing environment, I would say, in a fairly easy way. Did I answer the question?
Yeah, perfectly. Yeah, and I just remind the audience that if they want to, if they have any question, they can please use the Q&A box, and we will answer them live. And actually, great, there is a first Q&A from Oscar. How do you guarantee the intertiming accuracy between sources? Because the nature of ARC is based on adding a buffer of 3 to 4 times the round trip. How do you guarantee that the sources will follow a similar route through the internet and inter-cloud data centers? And
this question
is a techie question, and we love it. So
yeah, I can take a part of that question. First, you have the transport accuracy. So the Nimbra Edge system is time stamping all the UDP or RTP packets, so that we can ensure based on NTP timing that all inputs from any location will and can be egressed at the same time. So that is regardless of the delay that you ingest into the system. The delay, it's very correct actually, the question here that you have it is 3 to 4 times the return trip time that you would ingest for every hop in the network. But we have to also remember that, for instance, going from locally within a country, we are talking about maybe 10 milliseconds, 20 milliseconds of return trip times. So maybe we would add 30, 40, 50 milliseconds within a country. So it is still manageable type of delays. I hope I answered that question.
Right.
You can, just to give more information, you can actually set up a global, let's say, delay setting, or you can do it individually depending on the destination. As, for example, Christian said, it could be remote locations that you can adjust and tune that delay accordingly. But as Christian said, it's the source is time-stamped in NTP on the UDP level.
Okay, good.
Yes, and this is of course extremely important for the next step, where the orchestrator then receives all these streams and it it pushes these and make these available for the AMP production suite, I would say. And then, so the orchestrator is basically managing all this on an occasional level, and then hand over these and will pull in these streams into the Grass Valley AMP system, which, by the way, can be in the same physical data center, by the way.
Okay.
And then what do you do, Larissa? Maybe 2 words about that.
Just 2, not more, just 2.
So yeah,
please, Larissa, can you explain us what's the next step then once we move from the orchestrator to the AMP system? What happens there and what we can do?
Right. So we are with an AMP, we're taking in the feeds as here, you know, we have some camera feeds, but maybe there are additional feeds coming in as well. Live, we're taking them in, and according to the question before, so AMP has a patented timestamping mechanism, which also allows you to timestamp across multiple processing platforms. So even if you would distribute your processing, you would always time align all of these different sources to really have one certain point where you can synchronize all the feeds. So we're taking them in. For example, you want to have, you know, switching. So you would take all these different camera feeds in. You can switch them. You can have additional clip player sources. You would have a multi-viewer and work on that. But just to repeat that, this is not any monolithic app. So these are all, it's a fully microservices-based infrastructure. So we can run these applications from wherever. So as you see on the right, there are like these work from home operators, and not just like we have probably feeds distributed coming into the platform, but here also the operators, they can be wherever. So the director could sit in Canada and his clip operators could see in Stockholm, and they could still all work on the same system to do that. And cool thing as well, you know, for producers, so especially now within COVID-19, COVID times, you know, we're like all sitting at home, and also the producers, they want to see what's going on. So the producer could, for example, see the multi-views coming in, also detecting and making decisions based on all the feeds that he's seeing. So a general processing delay that we have is about 100 milliseconds in the platform. And this is, you know, then of course added with, if we have ARQ streams as Christian just explained before, and that will then add up to an end-to-end latency that we have, which still is extremely low, so that all, you know, live operations can actually be performed on the fly. So we would do this production, so you're switching that, and then we're producing different kind of program feeds, or you could have different other feeds for whoever you would want that, different graphics, localization, and regional things to put in there. And then we're like actually handing over these feeds back to the Nimbra Edge orchestrator in the workflow. And then this is where I actually hand off to Christian and Urko to go further how we move on.
Yes. The interesting thing is that the Nimbra Edge system doesn't only, let's say, take care of the inputs. We also, in the same system, can at the same time take care of the distribution of, let's say, the multilateral, the clean feeds, whatever feeds the producer and the owner of this event wants to distribute to the rights owners. These can be selectable and manageable by the rights holders themselves, or so that they can decide which ones they want to take. And we also have shown an alternative feed here, which is a unilateral feed, because maybe one of the rights holders have their own camera in the pit here. You will see it later, where they can manage a camera by themselves, which is basically given as a separate service totally through this system, even though let's say the producing company using AMP wouldn't even see this or doesn't care about that feed. And it shows that it is possible to have a multiple types of users, mix inputs and outputs and distribution and contribution in the same system, as well as take care of the full rights holder distribution to maybe hundreds of users. And here, talking about delays, it's interesting, the delay sensitivities is really in the production phase until you have the multilaterals, etc., that will go into the linear outputs. After that, it's more depending on what each right holder wants to do and how far away they are actually, and they can manage. Each one of these can manage their delay that they want to have for securing the best transmission. So if you have a local rights holder, maybe he has only 50 millisecond delays that he wants to add because he wants better production. On the other hand, you might have a very far away in Asia or something like that then want to add a little bit more, because for retransmission protocols, they are directly related to the actual return to time for ensuring the quality, I would say.
Christian, Larissa, I would like to use this opportunity now. We have explained a little bit the use case and how the two systems are interacting with each other, to bring it back to the cloud. And some of the cloud benefits that we are all aware of are basically the scalability. So the scalability, the elasticity, and the capacity to go up and down. Can you elaborate a little bit about that, and how AMP and Nimbra Edge are? What is how scalable they are, and for example, what is the maximum number of sources that you can get, and what is in this process that eases or brings the scalability? Maybe you want to start, Larissa.
Sure. So, I mean, I think this is why people move to the cloud. So because you want to have a really scalable solution, and you don't want to always just look at your maximum peak load and worst case scenario, so that you have actually always a headroom. So now you can actually just say, oh, I have this production next week. I need to have another 3-4 channels that I want to spin up, and I need additional clip layers or additional switcher capabilities. And you can just do it instead of like investing in hardware long-term. Yeah, that is actually just lingering around in your servers, in your server rooms, and is not used at all. So in terms of that, scalability, of course, is like the ground idea of why we are building that. Processing is usually always the only thing. Like, of course, you can fire up a lot of processing power. You know, if you're running in HD, you have quite a lot of flexibility, and the systems are scaling very well. If you're running UHD, you always need to think about if you natively want to transport some UHD streams, because then usually your public cloud costs also go up. So it is for us really important, and that is why we made this architecture, that AMP allows you to process wherever you would want to. So you can process very close to the sources and then just send encoded streams, which are pretty cloud, you know, they're commercially viable, to the places you would want. Or you have like a big infrastructure, you want to have something which is a central processing. So you would use, for example, Nimbra Edge to transport all these different signals to that central location, where you then also can have all your processing done, your switching done, adding that, and then also, of course, distribute it out. So the system is very flexible, and honestly, we didn't hit the wall yet in terms of scalability, and I think we're just starting, because there are new mechanisms coming up. You know, there's new technology, there's things in multi-node and in data center technologies that allows us to scale very high in terms of processing power, and I think what we're seeing now is really just the beginning.
That's great. I would like to keep a little bit on this, and then just ask Rocco about, because we're talking about scalability, but we also have issue with the cloud in ways of resilience. Can you talk a little bit more about that with regard to your experience and what you've seen so far?
Yeah, I think we both mentioned scalability as one of the key points, but also what Larissa mentioned is that you do not need to think in advance which kind of infrastructure you need beforehand when you have an event through Nimbra Edge, because Nimbra Edge scales automatically, either if you have 1, 5, or 500 streams coming in or going out to multiple destinations. So I think that is one of the key benefits somehow. within cloud and Nimbra Edge. As well, for instance, if you have a particular live event, or regional event, and you need to spin up even a whole Nimbra Edge instance in a particular location or particular region or country, you can do that in a very short time. That's something that without some of the cloud methodologies or cloud mechanisms, you will have a hard time to do so. So you will need to have prepare a lot of time.
We have a live question here about AMP, Larissa. Is the AMP platform based on public cloud buckets, cloud servers, or FPGA proprietary hardware?
Right, so we're using all the latest cloud technology. There is no FPGAs in that, so we can run on any cloud servers that can be Dell Supermicros or EC2s, or Azure. I always forget the abbreviation of the Azure nodes because it's not such an easy one. It's something with NP, whatever. But so it actually doesn't really matter for us. It is more like there is a certain bare metal requirement that is a composition of GPU, CPU, and networking that we would need. That actually once the server does it, you can use whatever you have in your home and run that and make that kind of like becoming an AMP node, so you can perform all of the processing on it.
So while we're still on the cloud benefits, I would like to talk a little bit about the business models that are tied to it, and if you can if you can explain to us what are the changes that you've seen so far in the business models, and what you should think about when implementing a cloud solution from a business model perspective. So
right,
maybe, please go ahead.
I think one of the general shifts is shifting CapEx to OpEx, so that you really use more an infrastructure as a service, or all the processing and applications just like as a service for a certain time. So with an AMP, we enable an hourly on demand if you want. So you can actually, you just pay for the hour you use it. So if you have a 4-hour production, you're running multiple applications, this is what you pay for, and then you just spin it down. We actually have like customers live now, which are running their twice 2 8-hour productions on Saturday and Sunday, and then on the Sunday night they're just like switching everything off. It's like they're really switching off their EC2s in AWS, and it's done. And the Saturday later, they're coming up half an hour before the production, spinning everything up. Everything comes up again, and then run their productions. And I think this is a very different model, also in terms of like what you can just bring in. If you need additional camera feeds, you would just add them to your platform. You can, and that is where Nimbra Edge and AMP also harmonize so well, because you can just bring up another feed, and as you will later see in the demo, like Alex and Nathaniel took them probably half an hour to set that up, to bringing up a feed here and then actually getting that into AMP, and they did this for like I think 6 to 8 feeds, and took like probably 20 minutes to build a completely new workflow. And I think these are dimensions that also commercially make a lot of sense, because especially on the event-based business, this is where I think that the market will definitely head to.
You optimize your operations. So, but I have two related question to that, is that I think we haven't talked about it yet, but we see a lot of resistance towards cloud because of the security, because it's not something that we own. It's something that is in the air and we don't control end to end. So what are your security mechanisms in this particular context? So what would you say to the people that are listening to us, and what they should consider when thinking about security in cloud?
I can take this.
Yeah.
For example, for Nimbra Edge, we ensure end-to-end encryption to every single video stream that enters into Nimbra Edge and gets out of it to the final destinations. So just to be more on the technical side, we use one of the main ARQ protocols, RIST main profile within Edge core. And one of the capabilities that it gives us is tunneling. So we use GRE tunneling on UDP level as well. So within those tunnels that we use in our internal core nodes, we encrypt all the video streams using AES 128. So that's the level of security, which is according to the RIST guidelines. But that's from the video routing service. But also we do have graphical user interfaces, as you can see here in the diagram, and all the communication is secured through HTTPS at all times as well. And we actually follow NIST guidelines when it comes to user authentication and digital logins as well.
Same with them. So for us, we're like, the system is really designed from the ground up. So with security in mind, so we are also conducting third-party pen testing on the system and regular intervals. But like as with Nimbra Edge, so all our REST operations, they're executed over HTTPS. And they also rely on JWT for authorization. And then when it comes to the authentication services, so they're all run through an identity service, and that can also optionally be delegated to an Okta server if that would be needed. So you have, as Urko said, for all the streaming things, you have usually secure and encrypted streams anyways, by SRT provides you this, RIST does provide you that. So yeah, all in all, you're really safe. And of course, we're updating continuously all the security measures within the cloud to really stay up to date on the latest technologies.
So, Urko, you were talking about ARC protocols, and I would like just to ask the audience, because this is quite interesting to know with what ARC protocol you're working right now. So we'll launch a short poll to determine which ARC retransmission protocol are you using, ZXI, RIST, or SRT. And while you're answering, maybe our panelists can tell us what is your experience in the field towards the different ARC protocols. Have you seen one that is more efficient, or more, this is even, or do you have a view on that?
Yeah, I can speak a little bit about that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the three dominant. First of all, there is a lot of, I would say, variants and proprietary ARQ or ARQ-like protocols for ensuring traffic quality. But the ones that dominate the market presently is then ZXI, SRT, and RIST. And what is the difference between the three? I would say they are good and bad out of a technical perspective in different situations. So you cannot say that one is better than the other or something like that. But there is some differentiating factors, and one is that ZXI is a owned protocol by a company, a ZXI company. So it is not by any means a free protocol for anyone to implement for free. There is always an element of payment to ZXI or their partners. The SRT, however, is also developed by Haivision, I believe. But they have made that open. So it's an open source, and anyone can implement it for free. But of course, it is still, its development is very much dependent on what that company wants to implement and what not. RIST, however, is the up-and-coming standard, I would say, because that is where the standardization bodies basically have decided to implement a standard that will be open for everyone. And with the drawbacks of I would say, standardization bodies, it takes a little bit of time to make that a full-fledged interface with all the bells and whistles that the others have. Nevertheless, RIST, out of a security perspective and quality perspective, is already there. So that is a differentiator between the three solutions. So one has to bear that in mind when selecting one or the other.
So I would like us to move a little bit more forward, and if we can go into, unless you have something else to add on this use cases, guys, but I think people would like to see how really this is working live, and I would like them to hand out. We will have to the audience, we'll have a switch handover to Nathaniel and Alex, who are going to take over right now and share their screen and to show you how this is done. So while they're doing that, just a question to the panelists and maybe to the crowd on now that while we wait for Nathaniel and Alex to prepare themselves. Larissa, Urko, and Christian, in what context have you seen the usage of cloud technology the most prominent? Was it in production, live contribution, primary distribution play out? And this is also a question to the audience. What have you seen so far? What is for you emerging?
Well, the interesting thing is that I would say that it depends a little bit on geography. I would say live contribution in Europe and maybe primary distribution in the US. That is where I've seen the movement presently. Primary distribution, then meaning from the big networks in their distribution to their affiliates. And that has a special reason in the US, I would say, where their reallocation of the C-band for the satellite. So it's pushed by the satellite, let's say, to look at alternatives for satellite in different situations. But I would say second, third tier sports contribution is a very interesting area pushed a lot by these type of solutions.
Okay, so if Nathaniel, are you ready, or can we?
Sean, can you stop sharing and give me the ability to share?
Well, I will share the results. It's primary distribution for most of the people, so that's interesting.
All right, I think I can share now. We'll see a diagram now.
Yeah, we do see the diagram. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll show you.
Can you tell us a little bit what you're going to show us?
Yeah, so I'll just show how the Nimbra Edge orchestrator looks for the scenario. First of all, from the venue feeds and the commentators going into AMP. So I'll show you how to get into the system. So you go to a web browser, you access your main Edge system. So in my case, this is one of our demo environments called Demo 2. I log in with one of my, now I'm going to log in as the touring car production company. Sign in, and here I see a subset of my part of the Nimbra Edge system. So you might have many different production companies and broadcasters on, but I'm just looking at my part. Here on the overview page, I can see that the center green dot is in Ireland, which is where this is hosted in Azure. We have a dot here up in Sweden, in Gothenburg, representing the Nimbra 400, bringing in feeds from the venues. And then we've got 3 more dots here, London, Paris, and Madrid to represent the commentators. And they all take feeds towards North America, where the AMP system is. You get lots of quick, easy...
in AWS, is it? Yeah.
No, this is Azure, yeah.
No, but AMP is in AWS, so you can also see that we're working together.
Exactly.
In different clouds.
So if I click on appliances here, you can see, the different appliances that I own as the touring car production company, the little pieces of software called Edge Connect at the commentators' homes, the venue Nimbra 400, and how they're all online. If I click on inputs, so I'll just go back to the diagram. Here we're going to see these 3 feeds from the venue and 3 feeds from the commentators. If I scroll down, we'll see the 3 commentator feeds here and 3 venue cams. If I click on, you can see they're being thumbnailed, and if I click on them, I get an HLS preview. So I can do some sort of confidence monitoring. And in terms of how to send them towards AMP, if I click on outputs, I've already got quite a few things set up. So I'm sending using the SRT protocol towards AMP. I've got 2 out of the 3 venue videos going out so far. The 3rd one I'll add now by pressing switch input. So I can choose which one to bring down here. So I'm going to take venue camera 3. And now that's sending towards the AMP on a particular predefined SRT port number. We've also got the commentators here, and then you might have other ones for confidence monitoring. So the other great thing is that you get a bit of an end-to-end view. So if I click on this SRT out number 2 on this circular I button, you'll get to see a service overview of how the feed comes in, for instance, into the 400, taking it in. So the bit rate is 4.5 meg for this one. In fact, if I actually bring in the RTP feed here, you can see that there's TR101 290 statistics. So there's a bit of a PCR error on this video, which you can see at this segment. And also if I click on the video call, you can see it's carried through consistently, and so on and so forth. And then towards the AMP on the way out as well. So you get to see lots of different statistics, and we are able to graph these inside with a Grafana tool. So you've got lots of information available.
I think it's actually quite interesting to see this services overview to give you an end-to-end workflow, you know, when it comes to transport monitoring right away in just one spot.
Yeah. So that's the feeds going in towards AMP, these camera feed 3 arrows here. So now I pass over to Alex to show you the AMP. So stop sharing.
Would you be able to pass me host so I can share?
Tron, can you
should
get it?
I think Nathaniel can do it. Because
yep, it's come through now. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So can you see my screen? Yep.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. So to continue on from Nathaniel, we'll start in the bottom left-hand corner of this page. So this is GVUI. This is our tool for viewing the HTML pages for AMP. In the bottom left-hand corner, we have a router panel. So what we're seeing here is we've got the 3 camera feeds coming from Nimbra Edge and the 3 commentator feeds, as well as the TX1 and TX2 program and preview from our master control switcher. Also a multi-viewer output as well, or input. We can also see the outputs here. So we're outputting 3 streams to the Nimbra system, as well as the flow monitor destination. Coming up to the flow monitor, we can see here a full picture quality or video quality stream. It's a WebRTC stream that's being brought down to my PC. This is a distributable application, so it's a HTML link that you can send to all relevant parties. Unfortunately, over Zoom, the picture quality will be a little bit degraded, but it looks great to me. And then we move over to the master control switcher. So in the top left, we've got our 2 TX1 and TX2. We can control these individually, or we can control them as a group. And we get a little thumbnail as what's currently out on them. Again, we can display the configuration for each of them separately, so we can come in and assign different channels for each TX output. Again, so we've assigned the 3 cameras, our 3 commentators. We've got a graphics source as well as a clip player. We can come through, we can modify the audio bars for each of these streams, as well as we've got a little thumbnail of each of those streams as well. So we've got a program bus, preview bus, and we can come through, and if we just have a slight crossfade, we hit auto, and we'll see a crossfade on TX1 preview and TX1 program. Again, we can do that back, and it will cross back. We can also do a DVE move. So if we take that and switch to that, and then do auto, we'll see we've got now a little picture in picture. And again, we can cut that back off. And I think my graphics source might have been moved, but let's test that. Okay, so at the bottom, you may not be able to see it over Zoom, but we've got a little timer for 30 minutes. Again, it's unfortunately a little bit small, but we can cut graphics on and off there with that as well. The final thing I'd wanted to talk about quickly is obviously a TD may not want to look at the audio bars themselves, so we can actually turn those off. And then a second operator might want to be doing purely audio stuff, so they can come in and look at the same master control switcher, but they can come in and just look at an audio view. So they're only seeing the audio sources, and then they can come and make modifications to that themselves. Okay, I think that's back to Nathaniel then.
Right, just one thing, Alex, when I may add. So all of the operations you're seeing, of course, they are running in the cloud, but what actually can come out of that is if you want to locally bring it back, you know, into the Nimbra Edge, you can distribute them and can get them out in whatever format you would actually like to. So it actually allows you to give it back like in the same format, or you could also just, you know, get it to a local source, get it out as SDI, like from the Nimbra Edge as well. So just to show this is not just, you know, something voodoo in the cloud and it will stay there, but actually to show you the end-to-end workflow, which is a fully workflow that you're used to have.
Right. Okay, so can you see my screen now, the diagram again?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, so now we've got the produced program feeds from AMP. We're going to just use the Nimbra Edge as a distribution platform now. And now I'm going to log in as a motorsport broadcaster, as an MCR user, for instance. And here I've got all the things shared by Touring Cars, the production company, that they want me to see. So none of the individual feeds, but maybe unilaterals and, you know, TX1 and TX2. As we have made a simplified view. So if I click on the top left here where it says Network Manager and I use the Stream Manager, here it gives me a more easy to use drag and drop interface where these output to decoder, one is, you know, an output with a predefined IP addressing, and this one's the second one with another predefined addressing to hit my decoders. And all I need to do is, for instance, drag one over there, and that's TX1 there, and maybe I want the unilateral to go onto decoder 2 and things like that. And I can quickly switch, you know, from TX1 to TX2 if I wanted to. And it says, do I want to do that? Overwrite something, and I say okay, and that's it. So overall, we're talking about you know, we're using a 300 millisecond ARQ end-to-end into AMP. AMP has 100 millisecond system delay, and then depending on what you need for different receivers, you know, one European receiver might just simply use 300 milliseconds, but if you've got somebody in Australia taking it, then maybe you would crank that up to about 2 seconds of ARQ. That's all I wanted to show.
Just Nathaniel, just to go back to the Stream Manager, I think you see, or the audience can see, the main differences between these two graphical user interface, where the previous one, the Network Manager, controls everything, controls creating appliances, input for appliances, outputs, rerouting. But if you want to have a much more simplified view, you can do, as Nathaniel was showing, the Stream Manager, and you can actually do this drag and drop not only to one destination, but as a bundle. So you can send one particular input stream to 100 destinations in just one go. So I think that's, in my view, powerful.
No, thank you for the clarification, Marco. We had, while we had the demo, a couple of other questions, and I think we have a couple of minutes left, so I would like to give also the possibility to the attendees to send some messages and some questions. So there was a question: do you have a playlist tool in the AMP, or all the operations are manual?
Right. So there is a clip player tool that allows you to play back multiple clips, also in all the common formats that you're used to. You even have the possibility to pre-queue them. So you can say, oh, I have multiple clip players and I have them on my switcher. So whenever you presses the button on the switcher, that it would automatically start. There is even more coming soon. I can't talk with you about it that much, but you will see very soon a lot of things added, that will even make this more smoother in the future.
Okay, so for a follow-up question then, can this software be linked to any hardware, Urko, Marisa?
That's for AMP. So the whole idea of the media universe is, of course, to integrate Grass Valley's 60-year heritage of hardware products into AMP. So this is what we call AMP connected solutions. So having the possibility to, for example, take replay panels, consoles, having also, you know, our processing gear that directly connects into AMP. So you would have the possibility to still use your hardware and have direct connections with AMP. But, you know, just think about the possibility having a panel. You could just sit at home with your panel and you can just plug it in, and all of the processing would then happen on your backbone in the cloud. So this is what's the whole idea behind this.
Okay, and I do have additional questions about how do you manage the tally and intercommunication with the cameraman?
Is this for AMP as well?
Yeah,
so
as
we
well
have a full tally integration. So we're actually supporting multiple tally protocols, like almost the same as we do with our switchers. And also have integration with Tallyman, for example. So you could do that. Also, when you're working on distributed user interfaces, so everybody sees what is actually live and what is on, and then of course to the cameras you can give that as well. But especially in a distributed workflow, you really want to know if your clip player is live right now or if you can use it. So there, of course, Tally is kind of like essential to the workflow.
Okay, and I think that this is the last question that we can take before we close this this call, but this webinar. But Trevor was mentioning that he appreciates using the master control to mix audio, the TX from embed the camera feed. Is there any option to ingest AES67 audio only services?
Yes. So in the audio panel that you just saw, we also have support for audio-only sources. We can take in AES67 streams natively, just as like all the 2110 family, and you can natively take them into AMP. We're also setting our timestamping end-to-end mechanism for all of them, so it shouldn't be a big issue. We're doing that, and can also perform that with all available solutions.
I think we, unless there are other questions from the attendees. We are like almost done with today's show. So first, I wanted to thank you, Larissa, Alex, Urko, Christian, and Nathaniel for taking this 1 hour of your time to be with us and to present our solution. I hope that we answered all your questions in the attendance. If you have any more, you can just reach out to us anytime on our social media, on info@netinsight.net, and we will follow up with you. And unfortunately, we don't have the slide yet, but we do have continuous webinars coming up every other week on our digital event platform for NetInsight. So stay in touch with us. We will keep you posted. Our next webinar is about IP and virtualization and how to secure IP networks. Sorry, so that could be quite interesting. So please, if you're interested, do not hesitate to register. And I think this is closing for today, right? I thank you very much, the audience, for taking the time to be with us, and I hope to see you soon, maybe live. We will see. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.